The ROUSs are running out of time for their Corpus Christi stay. First, they head to Mustang Island and get lost in a mangrove maze.
Then, they head to the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge to seek out the elusive whooping crane.
Hi, we're John and Tandy, two retirees that are hiking, paddling, and eating their way across America, one small trip at a time. Come join us on our road trips of unusual size. About 40 years ago, someone decided to cut a channel through Mustang Island so that fish could, well, swim back and forth between the Gulf and the Bay, I guess.
That fish highway is no longer there, but an interesting paddling location remains. Check it out.
Well, hey everyone, John and Tandy here. I don't know if you can hear any of this because the wind is really howling, but we're trying to hide behind the Jeep. So we have been out here, just completed our paddle, just got the kayak back up on top, and we're about ready to go. But before we did, we just wanted to check in with you and say hi. We did not expect this to be a nice afternoon. The weather report an hour before we got here said that it was just beautiful conditions out here with no wind. We drove out here and the area was completely socked in with fog. You couldn't see anything, and the wind was howling like at 25. But we hung around, we didn't give up on it, and
it cleared a little bit.
And it turned into just a beautiful day. The wind is still blowing too much, but it is a beautiful blue, and it is a pretty place.
Had a great paddle, lots of exploring, beautiful birds.
Yeah, matter of fact, right over here is we are at Mustang Island State Park. We had planned to paddle way up there at the end of Fish Pass, kind of in the bay out there. Way too windy to try to get out there. The wind would have pushed us into the bay, and I'm not sure how easily we would have been able to get back in the bay. So we came about halfway down Fish Pass. We saw this channel over here. There's a channel right there. We looked at it on the map and looked like there was a lake out there. So we just paddled over there and explored that area, and I think you've seen some of that. So anyway, beautiful day out here, great day in the park. A pretty crummy weather day turned into a beautiful day. So anyway, that's where we are, what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Right. So we're gonna kind of go that way and that way, down that way. And if we want to, go that way, but we might never be seen again if we do. So, let's go.
Well, we eventually got tired of paddling into the wind, so we turned around and headed home.
With the strong wind now behind us, we found that we no longer needed to paddle. So we raised our topsail and ran before the wind for the half-mile trip back to the launch.
While we never made it out into the Big Bay, we still enjoyed our time in Fish Pass. The maze of mangroves was confusing and fun to explore. And of course, the wildlife was plentiful.
Mustang Island State Park is a pretty place, and its proximity to Corpus Christi and Port Aransas is very convenient.
Our second adventure involved a trip out to the Aransas National Wildlife Refuge. It's February now and right in the middle of the whooping crane's migration from Canada to the Texas coast. And this refuge has been pivotal in the survival of this species.
As the crow flies, and as the crane flies, I guess, the Aransas Wildlife Refuge is only about 15 miles from our base camp on Copano Bay. This place was created in the 1930s to protect the breeding and wintering grounds of migratory birds. And the numbers of those birds then were quite low. In 1941, only 15 whooping cranes were believed to still exist in the wild. Today it continues to be rare, but its numbers are up to over 500.
In February, the Rockport area here goes a little crazy over whooping cranes. There are festivals and banners, and I'm sure that the birds feel quite welcome here. The ROUS has spent an afternoon hiking the wildlife refuge to get a look at these birds and the other wildlife protected there.
We saw 3 of those big gators that afternoon, and one of them was a huge 13-footer.
But more importantly, we saw some whooping cranes, and they were alive and well and happy. We also signed up for an upcoming boat tour that will take us out for a better view of these rare birds. But we'll cover that in our next episode.
What's next for us? Well, we'll take that boat tour for a closer look at the crane's habitat. Also, we've got time for one more paddling trip. We'll paddle that refuge area to see what we can from our kayak.
Then, sadly, it's almost time for a base camp move. We'll miss the Texas coast, but more adventures await. We'd love for you to come along with us.